afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Thursday afternoon, December 9th, and we are looking at Window Trader's market profile of SPY, IWM, and triple Qs. And just when it looked like Mo was going to let Curly and Larry have all the fun today, he surprises everybody by ripping up, and then late in the session, rips down, goes out, probes a little lower. I don't think I'm going to use L's low because it's literally 17 cents lower. Higher than M's low. So if by some chance we gap lower them all, the gap fill is going to be the important thing. If they fill the gap, I can't imagine they're not going to get L's low. So I wouldn't use that probe. We have the CPI tomorrow that everybody's so wrapped up about and everything. I think it's such a joke. We know there's inflation, but these algorithms are going to react and probably react pretty good one way or the other. Depending on how they decipher the number. We have an incredibly wide POC this week. Look at this. And when we were all very close together, 12 wide, overnight was 10, 8 wide from yesterday, and 10 wide today, 11 for ES. We had unchanged value today. They absolutely punched buyers in the face when they made a new high. That was my nice trade for me. Took my best trade. I put a nice... Not a huge short play, but took a nice 25 put play up there at the lows. Had a good day overall. Russell and Qs attempted to trend down a couple of times. Even we attempted in B, but it failed. Russell had some rogue algo spit out early in the day to the upside, as you can see, which I'm assuming that guy probably is now just ordering lunch instead of entering orders after he did that, as that turned out to be the high of the day. As far as my trading went, I took a short in A period against value high from yesterday. I thought it would be a very visual area to stop, and it did. I did that twice, 470 puts. Then when B pulled down, I took it against the overnight low, even though we were one time framing down with the 466 calls, which worked out. When C made a new low, they were getting no tempo. I'm like, they'll probably defend yesterday's low in the one time framing up in the daily, at least the first time. Did 466 calls again, which worked. And then when we pushed up, reversed and took a 469 put. So that worked out. Again, played that same game when we got close to value high today. 470s. Twice I shorted it in D. G period. Went up. Got above E. I'm like, well, now we had already taken out the IB low and the overnight low. It's rare they take out both sides. We ended up doing it, but we got nothing for it. So I shorted G 470. I think I shorted G 5 times. Went up, put it on. Each time it came in, took them off. Each time it pushed up to E's high, put them out. Nothing big. I'm talking 5 lots, 10 lots. And then in I took my biggest trade of the day, probably 25 put play. When I popped the top. I was thinking about taking a much bigger one, only took the 25, and that worked. And those were the 471s on those. And then in K period, we pushed back. I took a long against the day's low, the 466 calls. Before we took out the low, got a little bit of responsive buying on it. And in L period, when we pushed down, when we were getting closer to M's low from the 7th, I took a long, and that went back up. Didn't do anything in M period. Good day overall. And all three of our time frames are in balance. So this is a market waiting for more market-generated information. Well, we're going to see if that MGI comes in the form of this CPI number, which again to me is just a farce because we all know that inflation is running rampant. But whatever. We'll wait for this number anyway. As far as destinations to the upside, again, I'm not using L's low. I'm just using the day's low. 468.01, 10 wide at G's low. Then we don't have anything to today's high, 469.11, 470 daily high from yesterday. For the downside, we have nothing to today's low, 466.14. Then we don't have anything to the daily low from the 7th, 464.35, and filling the 256-point gap at 460.79. 463.65 daily low below that, 451.77. 9 wide, yeah, that's right. Those are huge. How wide our references are. 451.77, 9 wide from the 22nd, and then 448.92, which is a weekly low. Now, before we get to the chart, now tomorrow I'll recap all three of these charts, especially after the CPI. It should be interesting. But one thing to note, Russell filled their gap from the 7th. Okay? We have a 256-point gap. We haven't even gotten near. Now, triple Qs just barely missed the 7th low. Their gap is huge. It's about $5. So it's not going to be an easy gap to fill, just like ours isn't. However, if this number sends the algorithms over the edge, something like that can cause the algorithms, the market to fill the gap. We started eating away into our buy tail from the 7th, which was rather large. And then on the chart, I'll just show you the daily. Right? We're all in balance. It's a 3-day balance. Tuesday's low is the bottom of it. Yesterday's high is the high of it. So right now it's 464.35 to 470. So just under $7 range. If the market doesn't like what it sees tomorrow, it's going to be interesting to see if we test the 7th low. And don't forget, the 20-day moving average now is right at that 3-day balance low. So there's a lot to lean on here. But if the algos say, okay, we really hate that number, and get below the 20, it'll be interesting if they're able to fill this gap. If they fill this gap and we get acceptance into this balance down here, well, all of a sudden the Santa Claus rally might be put on hold. But if we hold the 7th low, or if we hold the gap and hold the 20, or get responsive buying below there and end up above it, I'd say we still have a chance. So tomorrow's going to be pretty interesting with this number, how we react. On the flip side, if they like whatever came out and we take out the balance high, well, then the all-time high is going to fall rather quickly in the near future. Hope you had a good day trading. Thanks for subscribing and liking the channel. Have a great night, and we'll speak prior to the opening tomorrow.